Welcome to welcome to today's podcast. This is me, Daugherty, coming in with their forensic information, and I'm here with my special guest, Belle, my friend. Belle, say hi.
Hi.
If you hear any crunching, it's because she's eating Reese's Puffs.
Because it's my breakfast.
Yeah. Okay. So today's podcast is going to be about the 7 S's and the investigative process. So yeah. The investigative process is really important to maintain the integrity of evidence and crime scene. Without following the proper steps, evidence could be seen as contaminated or inadmissible, getting thrown out in court. To prevent this, people came up with the 7 S's to ensure that everything can be used, because evidence can make or break a criminal case. The first of the 7 S's is to secure the crime scene. This is when the first responding officer will arrive at the scene, and he'll basically block it all off, but the first thing he has to do is make sure everybody in the area is safe and to get medical attention to anybody that needs it. He also must get all unauthorized personnel to exit the scene and then put barricades up to prevent people from entering. All people who enter or exit the scene must be documented with the time and date. This is really important because many people can be involved in a crime, and this can include the victim, the witnesses, medical personnel, crime scene investigators, and many more.
During this step is when they will also arrest the perpetrator if they are active on the crime scene.
Yes, perfect. All these people in and out makes it really difficult to keep track, but also even more important. The second S is to separate the witnesses. This is so they can't talk to each other, talk about the crime, because they can either work together or influence each other with their witness statement. So you want to make sure that they can't talk to each other, because the investigators should be the only ones that are comparing the witness accounts. When questioning a witness, investigators will ask questions like, what did you see, where were you when this happened, and other similar questions to try and gain as much information about the crime scene as possible. The third investigative step is scanning the scene. This is when investigators will do their first overlook at the scene and place down all the evidence markers at things that they believe to be most important. They will do a more thorough search later in time. This step is just to try and get a quick record of the scene before anything can get changed or too many people leave, come in,
So it's marking your murder weapon, the body, stuff like that.
Yeah. The fourth S is seeing the scene. During this step, a trained forensic photographer will take photos of the evidence that has already been marked in the previous step. They will also place down more evidence markers at newfound evidence. The photographer must take a minimum of 3 photographs per piece of evidence, but obviously more is preferred if they think they need more, They need a far distance, a medium distance, and a close-up, as well as photos with a ruler or a way for them to see the size of the piece of evidence for later. Yeah. The next step is sketching the scene. So after taking all the photos at the crime scene, the investigator will sketch the crime scene. This will roughly depict the dimensions and the evidence at the scene. The sketch should completely match the evidence and markers as shown in the photographs taken in the previous step. This is also important because it helps them get a better understanding. It can, it's the first step where they really take a lot of time to do, so it can help them learn more information. The 6th S is searching the scene. During this step, investigators will perform a more in-depth analysis of the crime scene. There are many patterns, including the search grid pattern and the spiral and quadrant zone. They use these patterns to try and help them cover the whole crime scene, so they get a complete thing and they don't miss anything, because they think something could make or break the case. The final S is securing and collecting evidence. No matter how big or small a piece of evidence is, it must be preserved and maintained properly. Evidence should always be handled carefully and wrapped separately to avoid cross-contamination. When collecting evidence, gloves should always be worn and complete documentation of the evidence should be done before it is collected. After evidence is collected, the chain of custody must be documented with signatures and everyone who has handled the evidence. Another way to collect a small piece of evidence is using a bindle, which is like a piece of paper that they fold up around the evidence, and that's only used for small evidence. After all the evidence is collected, it is sent to the crime lab, which is where they run tests and all the stuff like that to figure out who committed the crime, what happened, all that.
All the things.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.